First Contact with Joshua Pert.
All right, welcome back everybody. So today, the daily topic is going to be Thomas Jefferson. Now, there's a variety of things going on in the political world these days, and I could probably go on and spend the whole hour or more, probably all day long, talking about this. I mean, you turn on the news and you see all the talk about what's going on. You go on the alternative media, you could see all the news that's taking place there, and then you go to the forums. There's so much. The best way to stay informed about what's really taking place in the news as far as this show goes, the current stuff, is follow my Twitter feed at First Contact Now, or go to the Facebook page, because I am going through news all day long and I'm continually doing Twitter's posts and Facebook posts, and that's where you can keep up with everything up to date. As far as the particular topic for today, I wanted to zoom in on one particular subject, and that subject is Thomas Jefferson. The reason being is today is Thomas Jefferson's birthday. So let's get to it. Thomas Jefferson was born on April 13, 1743 in Shadwell, Virginia, and he died July 4th, 1826 at Monticello. Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence and the Statue of Virginia for Religious Freedom, third President of the United States and founder of the University of Virginia, voiced the aspirations of a new America as no other individual of his era. As a public official, historian, philosopher, and plantation owner, he served his country for over 5 decades. His father, Peter Jefferson, was a successful planter and surveyor, and his mother, Jane Randolph, a member of one of Virginia's most distinguished families. Having inherited a considerable landed estate from his father, Jefferson began building Monticello when he was 26 years old. 3 years later, he married Martha Wales Skelton, with whom he lived happily for 10 years until her death. Their marriage produced 6 children, but only 2 survived into adulthood. Jefferson, who never remarried, maintained Monticello as his home throughout his life, always expanding and changing the house. Jefferson inherited slaves from both his father and his father-in-law. In a typical year, he owned about 200, almost half of them under the age of 16. About 80 of these lived at Monticello. The others lived on adjacent Albemarle County plantations and on his Poplar Forest estate in Bedford County, Virginia. Jefferson freed 2 slaves in his lifetime and 5 in his will, and chose not to pursue 2 others who ran away. All were members of the Hemmings family. The 7 he eventually freed were skilled tradesmen. Having attended the College of William and Mary, Jefferson practiced law and served in local government as a magistrate, county lieutenant, and member of the House of Burgesses in early professional life. As a member of the Continental Congress, he was chosen in 1776 to draft the Declaration of Independence, which had been regarded ever since as the charter of America and the universal liberties. The document proclaims that all men are equal in rights, regardless of birth, wealth, or status, and that the government is the servant, not the master of the people. After Virginia left Congress in 1776, he returned to Virginia and served in the legislature. Elected governor from 1779 to 1781, he suffered an inquiry into his conduct during the last year in office that, although fully and finally repudiated, left him with a lifelong pricklishness in the face of criticism. During the brief private interval in his life following his governorship, Jefferson wrote notes on the state of Virginia. In 1784, he entered public service again. In France, first as trade commissioner and then as Benjamin Franklin's successor as minister. During the period, he avidly studied European culture, sending home to Monticello books, seeds, and plants, statues, and architectural drawings, scientific instruments, and information. In 1790, he accepted the post of Secretary of State under his friend George Washington. His tenure was marked by his opposition to the pro-British policies of Alexander Hamilton. In 1796, as the presidential candidate of the Democratic Republicans, he became vice president after losing to John Adams by 3 electoral votes. 4 years later, he defeated Adams and became president, the first full transfer of authority from one party to another in the history of the young nation. Perhaps the most notable achievements in his first term were the purchase of the Louisiana Territory in 1803 and his support of the Lewis and Clark expedition. His second term, a time when he encountered more difficulties on both the domestic and foreign fronts, is most remembered for his efforts to maintain neutrality in the midst of the conflict between Britain and France. His efforts did not avert war with Britain in 1812. Jefferson was succeeded as president in 1809 by his friend James Madison, and during the last 17 years of his life he remained at Monticello. During this period he sold his collection of books to the government to form the nucleus of the Library of Congress. Jefferson embarked on his last great public service at the age of 76 with the founding of the University of Virginia. He spearheaded the legislative campaign for its charter, secured its location, designed its buildings, planned its curriculum, and served as the first rector. Jefferson died July 4, 1826, just hours before his close friend John Adams on the 50th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. He was 83 years old, the holder of large debts, but according to all evidence, a very optimistic man. It was Jefferson's wish that his tombstone reflect the things that he had given the people, not the things that the people had given to him. It is for this reason that Thomas Jefferson's epitaph reads, "Here was buried Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of American Independence, of the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom, and the father of the University of Virginia, born April 2nd, 1743, OS, died July 4th, 1826. Many good biographies of Jefferson are available. Perhaps the single most respected Jefferson scholar was Dumas Malone, who wrote the Pulitzer Prize-winning six-volume biography, Jefferson in His Time. In 1993, the Thomas Jefferson Foundation published Thomas Jefferson, A Brief Biography, an essay submitted by Malone. Titles are available. Okay, so this website here is called monticello.org, and all about Thomas Jefferson. You can read quotes by him. You can go see the Declaration of Independence. All sorts of great different things to read about him. But let's look a little further. This is over at the White House website. Thomas Jefferson, a spokesman for democracy, was an American founding father, the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and the third president of the United States. In a thick party conflict in 1800, Thomas Jefferson wrote in a private letter, "I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against any form of tyranny over the mind of man." This powerful advocate of liberty was born in 1743 in Albemarle County, Virginia, inheriting from his father a planter and a surveyor, some 5,000 acres of land, and from his mother a Randolph, high social standing. He studied at the College of William and Mary and then read law. In 1772, he married Martha Wayne Skelton, a widow, and took her to live in his partly constructed mountaintop home, Monticello. Freckled and sandy-haired, rather tall and awkward, Jefferson was as eloquent as a correspondent, but he was no public speaker. In the Virginia House of Burgesses and the Continental Congress, he contributed his pen rather than his voice to the patriot cause. As the silent member of Congress, Jefferson, at 33, drafted the Declaration of Independence. In the years following, he labored to make its words a reality in Virginia. Most notably, he wrote a bill establishing religious freedom enacted in 1786. Jefferson succeeded Benjamin Franklin as minister to France in 1785. His sympathy for the French Revolution led him into conflict with Alexander Hamilton when Jefferson was Secretary of State in President Washington's cabinet. He resigned in 1793. Sharp political conflict developed and two separate parties, the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans, began to form. Jefferson gradually assumed leadership of the Republicans, who sympathized with the revolutionary cause in France. Attacking Federalist policies, he opposed a strong centralized government and championed the rights of states. As a reluctant candidate for president in 1796, Jefferson came within 3 votes of election. Through the flaw in the Constitution, he became vice president, although an opponent of President Adams. In 1800, the defect caused a more serious problem. Republican electors attempting to name both a president and a vice president from their own party cast a tie vote between Jefferson and Aaron Burr. The House of Representatives settled the tie. Hamilton, disliking both Jefferson and Burr, nevertheless urged Jefferson's reelection. When Jefferson assumed the presidency, the crisis in France had passed. He slashed Army and Navy expenditures, cut the budget, eliminated the tax on whiskey so unpopular in the West, yet reduced the national debt by a third. He also sent a naval squadron to fight the Barbary pirates who were harassing Americans' commerce in the Mediterranean. Further, although the Constitution had no provision for the acquisition of new land, Jefferson suppressed his qualms over constitutionality when he had the opportunity to acquire the Louisiana Territory from Napoleon in 1803. During Jefferson's second term, he increasingly preoccupied with keeping the nation from involvement in the Napoleonic Wars, though both England and France interfered with the neutral rights of American merchantmen. Jefferson's attempted solution, an embargo upon American shipping, worked badly and was unpopular. Jefferson retired to Monticello to ponder such projects as his grand designs for the University of Virginia. A French nobleman observed that he had placed his house and his mind in an elevated situation from which he might contemplate the universe. He died July 4th, 1826. And the one last link here is the page over at Wikipedia. I thought this would be a good source as well. Thomas Jefferson, April 13th through 1743 through July 4th, 1826, an American founding father who was principal author of the Declaration of Independence, later served as the third president of the United States from 1801 to 1809. All right, and you can see a lot more through this right here. So there you have it. There's a lot of information on Thomas Jefferson, whose birthday it is today. I believe if we go from the date of his birth in 1743, what is that? That would make him about 250 some years of age if he was alive today, but he's not, and I'm probably sure he's rolling over in his grave many, many times at what some of the presidents have done since he has left this earthly soil. Anyway, that is it for today. I think it's important that we do remember the founding fathers. He was a very important founding father. We have the Declaration because of his skilled writings, and we really need to appreciate what he wrote. As a matter of fact, you know, the whole Library of Congress has much to thank for Thomas Jefferson and all that he contributed to it. So we really need to learn and understand more about these founding fathers because they're so important to our history. And these were men of just such high resolve and moral character that when we try to compare some of the presidents we've had in the past to them, they don't even hardly stand up in comparison at all, because the quality of president has certainly gone downhill for a long time. I'm hopeful that Donald Trump is going to bring much of that glory of the presidency back. I truly believe in what he's about. Time will tell, though, as with every president, on how they actually do. But so far, I think he's doing a great job, and I think he's living up to the ideals of the founding fathers. So let's just hope that it keeps moving in that direction, and all will be well. That's it for today's daily topic. Thomas Jefferson. Once again, happy birthday to Thomas Jefferson. Happy birthday to all of us in America, because the Declaration of Independence is penned by him, and our country was born out of that. Anyway, thank you, my friends, for checking this out. That's it. Happy birthday, Thomas Jefferson. Stay tuned. I'll be back, and we'll wrap things up.